Hi guys, and welcome to another video. This one is the continuation of the first part of the history of Eurovision. In the first one we did the 1950s, and now we're moving on to 1960s, a decade that started kind of slowly and everything was very calm, and then a lot of things happened. Before we move on, you guys had a request. You said everything was a little bit too quiet and you wanted some background music, so here we go. Is that better? If you like this style of video, please like, subscribe, comment, and let's move on with the history of Eurovision 1960s. We left off in 1959 when the Netherlands won Eurovision with Teddy Scholten. Following that win, the Netherlands decided they do not want to host it again, being way too close to 1958 when they hosted too. Therefore, the honor of hosting the contest went to United Kingdom. They placed second in 1959. Interest in the contest across Europe started to grow, and this year we had 13 participating countries. Norway made its debut with a jazzy singer. Luxembourg returned to the contest after a one-year break with a song in Luxembourgish. And the Netherlands was announced by mistake as Holland. Please don't make that mistake, they really don't like that. Holland is just a part of the Netherlands. It's kind of like calling UK England. That's not good either. The show was hosted by Katie Boyle, whom together with Jacqueline Joubert started holding the record for the most number of times they hosted the show. Come on, Petra! This year also each country sent their own national commentator, so everyone can comment in their own languages. This is probably also to help a little bit build a little bit of context for the songs. This year each country had 10 members in their juries, each one of the jury members giving 1 point to one song that they like the most. The winner was France with the song Tom Pilibi, performed by Jacqueline Boyer. This was France's second victory and the fourth consecutive times they finished in top 3. At the age of 18, Boyer became the youngest person to win Eurovision up until that point. United Kingdom were runner-ups again, second time in a row, with a song called Looking High High High. Monaco returned, and this was their second time in the contest. The first time they participated they finished last, this time they finished fourth. 1961 was the 6th edition of Eurovision Song Contest, and it took part in Cannes, France, for the second time. 16 countries took part in the show this year, and Spain, Finland and Yugoslavia joined. The number of delegations increased. That means that also the competition feeling was a little bit stronger. That also convinced a lot more people to tune in on the television, which meant that they decided to do it this year on a Saturday. This idea, as we know, will be later taken on, and it will be forever done always on Saturday. The earlier mentioned Jacqueline Joubert presented the show for the second time. Previously she did it in 1959. The stage used for Eurovision Song Contest 1961 was noticeably larger than the previous stages, and it was decorated with flowers. The rule of 10 jury members giving each one 1 point was kept. During the voting sequence, Luxembourg gave UK 8 points, and Norway also gave Denmark 8 points, this being the second largest amount of points ever given to a country by another country, the record still being held by France, who received 9 points from Denmark in 1959. The winner was Luxembourg with the song Nous les Amoureux, and it was sang by Jean-Claude Pascal, not to be confused with Jean-Claude Van Damme. This was Luxembourg's first ever win, with United Kingdom finishing second for a third time in a row. Because the contest overrun its allocated time in UK, they did not show the winner's reprise. This contest was the first one to have multiple last places, Austria and Belgium each finishing with 1 point. Eurovision 1962 took place in Luxembourg City, Luxembourg. 16 countries participated this year, the same 16 countries as they did in the prior year. The stage was decorated with twinkling stars, but unfortunately they had some issues in the big auditorium in Luxembourg, and for a good part of the evening they could not be seen. After France's entry has been performed, a short power failure happened and the screens just turned dark. There was also another power failure during the Netherlands performance. All the viewers around Europe could only see the same dark screen. This also very probably affected the results of Netherlands that year. After the show though, the Dutch song became very popular across Europe. This year, Feu de Leclerc made his 4th appearance for Belgium. Jean-Philippe returned too. He represented France in 1959, but this year he came to represent Switzerland. This was the last contest not to be held on a Saturday night. This year also they changed the rules of voting for the second time. Instead of the 10 jurors each giving 1 point to their favorite song, this year all the jurors together would decide their top 3 and they would give 3, 2 and 1 points to their top 3. The winning country was France again with a song called Umpremiamo. The song was sang by Isabelle Aubray and it led the whole contest from the beginning until the end. This was France's 3rd victory in 5 years. It also was the 3rd consecutive song that won being sang in French. This year we also had for the first time the very infamous Nul point. 4 countries received those points. Actually, they did not receive the points. That was the point of the nul point. The countries were Austria, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Spain. The 1963 show you would expect to have been held in Cannes, France. It was not. UK stepped in and they hosted the show. France refused to do so because of financial reasons. That's why the show was in London. The exact same countries that took part in 1961 and 1962 also took part in the contest in 1963. 3 big stars of the era took part in this Eurovision Song Contest: Esther Ofarim for Switzerland, Nana Mouskouri for Luxembourg, and Françoise Hardy for Monaco. This year they changed the voting rules again. Bear with me, it's a bit harder to explain, but it will be very clear in the end. Each country had 20 jury members. Each jury member from each country would give points from 5 to 1 to their top 5. All those points were being added up in each country, and then the top 5 of each country received 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 point. 2 studios were used this time in the contest. One of them is probably what we would call today the green room. In one of the rooms was the mistress of ceremonies, Katie Boyle, the scoreboard, and the audience, and in a separate room were the singers with the orchestra. For the first time, a boom microphone was used in this competition. This was pretty much for the organizers to give a new feeling to the show. That meant that the people would not see the microphone. Each song had its own unique staging, and those changes were made very quickly in between the songs. And now if you think of it this way, being 2 separate rooms, the singers with the orchestra are separate from the audience, you cannot see any microphones on your screen, and the background keeps changing after each song. That only convinced people at home that the whole show was not live, which was not the case. The show was live. One of the most famous probably controversies happened this year during the voting sequence. Because of that earlier rule that I told you before, with 20 jury members giving different points and then adding everything up and then looking again who's top 5, the counter in Norway was not done adding up all the votes when it was Norway's time to tell the results. The guy that was supposed to give out the points for Norway was also extremely nervous. He didn't know what to do, so he started reading out the preliminary results from Norway. After a while, he decided it's better just to ask Katie Boyle to go back to him after all the other countries have voted, for them to have enough time to do the total. But now this is what happened in the end. Before Norway came back to give out their points, Denmark was leading by 2 points, Denmark. When the Norwegian juries gave out their points, Denmark was ahead of Switzerland by 2 points. Obviously, the Norwegian jury was accused of just helping Denmark to win. Switzerland protested against the results, but here comes the kicker. In an interview from 2017, one of the jurors said exactly what happened in Norway that day. Apparently, those 20 jury members from Norway were just 20 students that were just picked up by the television broadcaster that same day. On the ride to their studios where they were supposed to listen to the songs and give out their points, they have decided that no matter what, they will give the points to Denmark just because they like Denmark. He also said that the whole voting sequence was a total chaos. They literally were using a blackboard and they were like drawing lines for each vote, and that's why the counter got very confused very fast. Monaco was also asked to give the points once more because they gave 1 point to 2 different countries. Although in the end Monaco removed 1 point from United Kingdom and gave 1 point to Luxembourg, this did not affect the end results in any way. Another thing that was speculated that year is the fact that probably the jurors were not actually on a telephone when they were giving out the points because their voices could be heard way too clear to be a telephone conversation. As I said before, Denmark was the winner of Eurovision 1963. Dansevis was the winning song and Denmark would get to host the show for the first time. It was the first win for a Nordic country. 4 countries again received nul point this year. Finland, Norway and Sweden being the unlucky ones to feel this bitter taste for the first time. On the other hand, Netherlands became the first country that manages to get nul point 2 years in a row. And after all that craziness in 1963, we move on to 1964, which obviously should be a year that's totally flower power and calm. As I said before, this was the first time Denmark won or any other Nordic country. Still 16 countries participated in the contest, but Sweden decided to take a break after their nul point, and Portugal decided to join in. It's been said that Sweden did not take part in this contest because the singers just went on a boycott. They did, however, broadcast the show. Surprise, surprise, this year, again, 4 countries are gonna get nul point. Germany, Switzerland and Yugoslavia are gonna get their nul point for the very first time. But something that's a little bit sadder is the fact that Portugal, on their very first edition of Eurovision Song Contest, received nul point. Because of this, they became the first country ever to receive nul point on their debut. This year they changed the rules of the voting again. Now they have again 10 jury members, but they do not give 1 point to their favorite. They have 3 points to distribute between their favorite 3 songs. They could also vote just for 1 song, give all 3 points to 1 song, do 2 points to 1 song and 1 point to another song. They had many options to vote with their points the way they wanted to. In the end, they would add up all those points from all the jurors from each country, and the first place in a country would get 5 points, the second place 3 points, and the third place 1 point. If all the votes from the jurors would go to the exact same country, that country will receive 9 points. If only 2 countries would receive points in those countries, the first place will get 6 points and the second place will get 3 points. I'm sorry, I know this sounds complicated. The rules were just nuts. And this year we have a protest on stage. After the Swiss entry, a man trespassed onto stage and held a banner that said "Boycott Franco and Salazar." While this was going on, the cameras were just focused on the scoreboard. Once the man was removed, the contest just went on as if nothing ever happened. For you youngsters, I'm gonna tell you who Franco and Salazar were, just in case you do not know. Antonio de Oliveira Salazar was a Portuguese statesman and an economist. He was responsible for a corporatist, authoritarian government in Portugal that lasted until 1974. And Francisco Franco Bahamonde was a Spanish general. He led the forces that overthrew the Second Spanish Republic, and after that he ruled Spain from 1939 to 1975 as a dictator. The Netherlands became the first country to send an artist with a non-European ancestry. Anneke Gronloch was of Indonesian descent. The Spanish group Los TNT became the first group with 3 or more members to take part in Eurovision. The winner was Italy with a song called Nonoletta, and it was performed by Gigliola Cinquetti. Try to say that 5 times fast. This was Italy's first win, which also meant it was the first win ever for a Southern European country. Being 16 years old and 92 days, Gigliola became the youngest winner of Eurovision Song Contest. The immediate response of the live audience was remarkably loud and prolonged. She even was allowed, after she left the stage, to come back to do a second bow. Her performance received also an unscheduled repeat on the British television. In the event, she won with the most crushing score in the history of Eurovision. She had 3 times the amount of points of the second place. This year, unfortunately, is also the year when the tapes burned in a fire and we do not have the full show. It's been said that a copy of the show was found in the French archives, but right now there is no option to see it anywhere online. It's also being speculated that BBC actually recorded this entire show because they found an empty canister where they keep the tapes. It was labeled Eurovision 1964. Unfortunately, nothing was found inside the canister. That means that somehow the tape disappeared. The Danish broadcaster, had a fire in 1970. That's how the tapes were lost. 1965 Eurovision took place in Naples, Italy, or as I call my favorite pizza, Napoli. This was obviously the first time Italy hosted the contest. This year we had a new record of countries taking place in the show. 18 of them. Sweden returned and Ireland wanted to join in. Ireland won for the second time with a pretty controversial song called Poupée de cire, Poupée de sang. It was sang by a teenager, France Gall, and it was written by Serge Gainsbourg. The song later became a massive hit in the European countries, but here we have another mini drama that kind of happened later. Apparently, this songwriter really enjoys to have double entendre and puns and play with words in his songs. These factors make for the non-French speakers to miss a lot of the nuances of the song, and it makes it also very hard to translate the lyrics. Because of that also, France Gall, remember, she was a teenager. She totally missed the second meaning of the song. She felt she was used by Gainsbourg, especially afterwards when he wrote another song for her. The song was called Sucette and it's literally about lollipops, double entendre being, the other thing. France Gall obviously did not appreciate that and later said that she just feels that he took advantage of her and her naivety. This was the first winning song since Ein Betje that was not a ballad. The French public afterwards reproached Gall and Gainsbourg because they did not represent their own country, they went to represent Luxembourg. Wouldn't have been funny to have France being represented by France. Now let's play a game. What place do you think United Kingdom ended up on? The answer is yes, second place again. Already at this point, UK received a record that will never get to be beaten again for being on the second place, but there are still many more to come. For the 4th consecutive year, 4 countries received 0 points. Belgium, Finland, Germany, and Spain, all of them having done this already one time. This was the first year also when the Eastern European countries could watch the show. This was being broadcast also on the Intervision network. Ingvar Wixel performed for Sweden a song in English instead of Swedish. This is the act that kind of started a rule that will go on for a few years, that every country can only sing in one of their official languages. Believe it or not, that was only the first half of the decade. We're moving on now to 1966. And it was hosted for the second time in Luxembourg. Again, the same 18 countries participated in this show as they did in the previous year. During the voting process, the host, by mistake, greeted United Kingdom with "Good night, London." When she realized her mistake, she said "Good evening, London," and the spokesperson of United Kingdom, as expected, made a joke out of it and answered to the call with "Good morning, Luxembourg." 1966 was also the first year when a black person participated in the contest. It was Millie Scott representing the Netherlands. She was also the first singer to use a portable microphone. It was also one of the first year when a song was not accompanied by an orchestra. And this is how we start another drama story. Domenico Modugno participated for the 3rd time in Eurovision Song Contest. His entry, Dio Como Ti Amo, was rearranged after the Sanremo festival. That was not really allowed because one of the rules was saying you cannot rearrange the song so close to the actual contest. But during that Saturday afternoon rehearsal, Modugno decided to just play the song with 3 of his musicians instead of using the orchestra. The producers did not agree with that. Modugno was really unhappy with the orchestra and he threatened that he's not gonna participate in the show. The EBU producers also threatened him that they're gonna bring Gigliola Cinquetti back to participate for Italy. In the end, the producers realized there is no way they could fly her so fast from Italy before the show and prepare everything with her. So they gave up, they let Modugno do his own thing. Unfortunately, Italy ended up getting 0 points. After this year, Denmark is going to take a 12-year break from Eurovision. This year was also a year when it was very obvious that neighborly voting and block voting were going to happen in Eurovision. Switzerland and Finland all receive all their points except for one from all the other Nordic countries. Denmark received all their points from Nordic countries. Every time a Nordic country would give their points, the Luxembourg audience would boo them. This is probably pre-Greece, Cyprus, and Russia, Belarus. Portugal and Spain, being neighbors, they just exchanged the maximum amount of points. Switzerland and Austria did the exact same thing and just put each other on the first place. France saved itself for another 0 points thanks to Monaco. Ireland gave their maximum amount of points to United Kingdom, and Netherlands gave their maximum amount of points to Belgium. The winner was Austria with a song called Merci Chérie, performed by Udo Jürgens. This was Austria's first win and Udo Jürgens' third participation in the contest. This was also the first time when a song sang in German won the show. The first 4 countries this year also beat the record for the best results: Austria, Sweden, Norway, and Belgium. On the other side of the spectrum, United Kingdom, France, and Italy had their worst results in Eurovision up until that point. Eurovision 1967 was the first time Eurovision took place in Vienna, Austria. 17 countries participated this year. Denmark is the one who decided to take a break. The stage was a little bit unusual this year. They had 2 revolving mirrors on stage that would start revolving when the song started and stop revolving when the song stopped. The hostess, Erika Val, was the first one to say goodnight in a bunch of different languages at the end of the show. This was the last contest to be broadcast in only black and white. The Luxembourg song L'amour est bleu came 4th in the end. Nevertheless, after the show, it became a huge hit in Europe. Switzerland received 0 points for the second time. Portugal was represented by Eduardo Nascimento, the very first black male singer. He performed the song O Vento Mudo. Rumors claim that the Prime Minister Salazar, you remember the Salazar that we talked about earlier, sent this artist just to prove to Europe that he was not a racist. Each country had a conductor who was the maestro of the orchestra, this being the first time ever when each country got their own conductor. Up until this point, there was like a host conductor that would pretty much do this for all the countries. The voting sequence this year was one of the more chaotic ones in Eurovision history. The students of Jena University being the ones that controlled the scoreboard, and they made a bunch of mistakes during the show. These darn students. All the mistakes have been corrected by the scrutineer. The hostess, Erika Val, again, she got a little bit too eager to announce the winner, even though there was still one more country to give out their points. The winner in the end was United Kingdom for the first time after all their second spots with the song Puppet on a String, and this was performed by Sandy Shaw. This was also the first time a song being sang in English won the contest. Can you believe it took them 11 years for an English song to actually win? This entry had one of the largest margins of victory. The second place had less than half the amount of points. Shaw had to perform her song barefoot because of her really poor eyesight. She said that she needed to feel where the stage was to prevent herself from falling. Personally, I don't understand how that works, but I guess okay. Singing barefoot after that became like one of the Eurovision prophecies, and actually it seemed like it quite worked for a bunch of artists that perform barefoot. Shaw said that she intensely disliked the composition of the song, but as the year passed by, she started to kind of like it. She even released a new version in 2007. The contest remained the only contest hosted by Austria until 2015. Eurovision 1968 took place in London for the third time. 1968 was the first time Eurovision Song Contest was broadcast in color. France, Germany, the Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, Switzerland, and United Kingdom being the first countries to broadcast this in color. Katie Boyle hosted the show for the third time. Due to a misunderstanding, Switzerland received 3 points from Yugoslavia instead of 2. The scrutineer asked for the votes from Yugoslavia to be announced once more, and the mistake was corrected in the end. The winner was the song La La La, performed by Maciel for Spain. Prior to the contest, United Kingdom was tipped as the favorite to win with the song Congratulations, but in the end lost by only 1 point. Originally, Juan Manuel Serrat was supposed to sing this song, but he wanted to perform this in Catalan, but Franco, the dictator, did not really like that idea. For this reason, Maciel was the one picked to sing the song. In May 2008, a documentary was made in Spain about 1968. And parts of the show refer to the Eurovision Song Contest. The filmmaker alleged that Francisco Franco actually paid different broadcasters across Europe to vote for the Spanish song. He also promised to buy different television series and unknown artists from those countries to promote them in Spain. The allegations were based on the testimonies of a journalist. He also suggested that rigging the contest was something of a common knowledge back then in Europe. The documentary claimed that actually United Kingdom was supposed to win the contest that year. Obviously, Maciel, the performer of the winning song, felt really offended by this. She said that if Franco had anything to do with this, he would have never picked her because there were a lot of different artists that were a lot more friendly to the dictatorship. The journalist in the end apologized to her for saying that, but he also said that rumor was pretty widespread. In the end, both Maciel and the journalist together accused the television for just manufacturing this scandal. Madrid was the host of Eurovision 1969. The person responsible for all the advertising material for the contest in 1969 was no other than the surreal artist Salvador Dalí. Austria did not take part in this contest. Officially, they said that they did so because they couldn't find the right performance for the show, but the rumors were that actually they refused to go in a Franco-led Spain. Wales wanted to join in the party and sing in Welsh. Unfortunately, they were not allowed to do so. Wales was not a sovereign state, and BBC were the ones who had the rights for the show, so they should be competing for United Kingdom. And after all those years when 4 countries got nul point, this year we have 4 countries that won. This was the first time ever when a tie occurred, and just to make it more complicated, why a tie between 2 countries when there could be 4? United Kingdom, Spain, France, and the Netherlands were the lucky winners. This also created a pretty awkward problem. The hosting country did not have enough medals for all the people that won, so only the singers received their medals. The songwriters got their awards later after the contest. For France, this was their 4th win, which made them the first country ever to reach 4 wins. For Netherlands, this was their 3rd win. Spain and United Kingdom won for the 2nd time. But this was also another first time something happened. It was the first time a country won 2 years in a row, that country being Spain. This was so far the only occasion Spain got to host Eurovision Song Contest, and for them it was the last win up until now. And guys, we are done with the 60s. What do you guys think? I have a feeling this video is gonna be very long, just based on the amount of time it took me to film this. Even the subjects that I pick for this videos are just like scraping the surface of everything. and it still seems like a lot of things are happening all the time. And to be honest, I don't think that next decades are gonna get any more calmer or any more dramaless. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the like button, leave me a comment, hit the subscription button, and maybe even the bell. Please stay safe, and I'm gonna see you in another video. Bye!